Hey everybody, and welcome back to another RCT2 review. We continue our reviews of the H2H9 matches. We're now into round 4, matches 1, 2, and 3. This kind of signifies the halfway point in the round robin portion of the contest. And the first match today is going to feature the Scream Queens versus the Tile Inspectors. We'll start here with the Scream Queens part. This is Yurka Daylight Time. This was built by Terry Inferno with 80% share, 15% by Mercurius, and 5% by Lilith. Hard to say. Anyway, the theme for this one, based on the name, is the Polish surrealist painter, Jacek Jurka. And if you're not familiar with his artwork, which I'll be honest, I was not super familiar with it, you should definitely go look it up because there's a lot of cool homages to what he's painted in this park. So we start here with this pretty darn cool entrance with big clock. You'll see clocks as sort of a motif theme throughout, and then some kind of neat architecture. Love this nice arch, and then the kind of overgrown grasses around it. Also the water up on top. This is sort of the start of our surrealism stuff. You're going to see a lot of those sorts of things where you're like, well, that's not quite right, or not necessarily supposed to be quite that way. Over here in the corner, we've got a swing on top of a sun, or underneath of a sundial. I think it's pretty cool. You'll notice the train wrapping around, which we'll see in a couple other spots have some pretty neat views. That water up top is falling down on either side of the entrance on the back side, which is pretty cool. Note the clock that's moving, so that's a pretty cool piece of animated scenery there. Not something I think I've really seen before. But if we spin it around and come on in, you'll see the big clock here on the floor, and really nice play with layers. So we've got a lot of these elevation changes and kind of multiple layers, and our big centerpiece piano back here, which we'll get to here in a minute. Let's start down on this side, though. We have Reminisce, which is a interesting little shuttle coaster here, with a nice kind of heart inversion and wrapping around the drop tower, which I think is a pretty cool choice there. So this is Hungry Hill. But neat design on the shuttle loop of sorts, so you can kind of look through and see what there is to see here. So it's kind of a cool, unique layout, I suppose. So there's a launch right out of the station, and then you have this little diagonal boost on the side here, up and around through the inversion, and then up through our reverse spike over here. I like this big chunky support down here with the water and everything else. Not quite sure why, but I just do. Here we go, up and around, flat bit there. Nice inversion, taken pretty fast. And then up beyond the track, and then back on down. Looking on the backside here, we've got this nice little swan boats ride with the labyrinth, Love's Labyrinth. You can see the heart-shaped smoke coming up, which is kind of a fun little detail. This bridge here is a recreation or an inspiration, I suppose, of one of Jacek's Jurka's paintings, and nicely done. The piano here, which I said we would get back to, has a spinning coaster inside of it, growing out of all these vines and everything else. So this is called Pianosis. A fun name. Big spiral lift hill here, a curved lift hill into this kind of winding, twisting layout that also has these couple of bits where it pops out the backside and does its thing and comes back around. There's a big dice, I suppose, die on the backside. Turning it around actually reveals what I kind of think is the most interesting part of the map as far as these layers go. So we get these go-kart tracks here coming up and down the different areas, and no sidewalls here, so it's kind of this almost precarious drive all along the way. And then not only that, but you have the train here that wraps around through, and I love the way that the supports here kind of interact with the various roads. So we got outside here, inside here, and then supports this track above. I just think it's a really cool way to kind of do these different edges. In addition here, just wrapping around the whole thing, you've got this log flume with this super cool spiral lift hill thing, and diving drop there in the middle. Just really neat way that all this integrates together. You get your 777 here, another dice in the water. Here's another one, so you can have all three coming down. Here's a cool use of the custom ride vehicle. It's just the circular or the circles. That's a hourglass, which is kind of fun. I do like the rock work here actually quite a bit. It's using these textural pieces, and it's not necessarily as fine as we've seen on some of the other pieces of rock work, but I think it works really well in this instance. And just it doesn't get too bogged down in the kind of crunch details, as I guess we would say on New Element, but it does a nice job getting the formwork and sort of these faceted edges. This is pretty cool with the faucet here dripping down, and then you have the actual water splash there that's coordinated pretty well. So I do like that. I think that's a neat idea, and then watching the log flume drop down right below it is very cool. All right, so if we spin around some more, we get to this sort of other island here, more surrealism going on this side. We got these clouds along the underside here that are just floating all around. You've got a rapids ride here called Transcending Tides that goes off to this island. You'll see underground we actually have some, or underwater, I suppose. We've got this pathway here, and then we have these other rides. This is underneath the water down here. I actually really like this island, just the way that the landscaping is done, sort of the seclusion of the whole thing compared to the busyness of the rest of the park, and how the buildings going to stand off on the side here, sort of vaguely Asian look to them, but very nicely done. We got another cool section here. Probably the coolest thing here is the waterfalls that fall upwards. So that's another piece of custom scenery there. And also the train here chugging its way up onto this pathway that's just right there up against the water level, and kind of working its way along. I just really like how this train sort of transitions through all of these different elements here, and does it really well. Architecture wise, there's a lot going on. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to read, but I think that almost plays into the surrealist type nature of things, that you're not quite sure which way is up and which way is how things are layered on top of each other versus others. You get these subtle details like this musical note here in the piano itself, and just lots of interesting uses of curves, interesting uses of textures and landscape and everything else. This is a pretty cool idea for a shade structure right here at the top. There is just a lot of very nicely put together details in the park. And I think this one bears a little bit more review, and in some cases maybe a little bit more research too. I think I got a little bit better appreciation out of it after I had looked at some of Yurka's paintings, and just read a little bit about him. So I would encourage you to do the same, and I think you'll definitely get a fair bit out of this map. And then their competition, tile inspectors came in real strong with a park called Stardust Jubilee, which in my opinion may be one of the stronger parks of the head-to-head so far. It's honestly one of my favorite. So this is a wild themed park in space, which is kind of funny too, coming off of a couple of these things that we've seen, such as the Sky Paris, and also with the Adventurers Club with their Stardust Speedway earlier. So this is Stardust Jubilee, like I said. This is 60% from Avenine Commuter. This is 30% from Where's Walto, 8% from Molder, and 2% from Biohazard. So we watch out for those traffics that have crashed. But the idea for this is it's sort of a 50s, 60s casino feel in space. You get that sort of classic Las Vegas look to it, chaotic, bright, in your face. And there's just a ton of details through this whole thing. First thing you'll notice too is this weird kind of planet object that really doesn't fit the rest. I honestly think it looks pretty good. It definitely has a nice background to it. I don't think I'd like to see this become a mainstream thing. It has the potential to go south pretty easily, but when you turn the angles here everywhere else, you're actually all right. So not too bad. But let's zoom in a little bit and let's see what there is to see. And what there is to see is just a lot. So we're definitely not going to catch all of this in this one. So as I like to say, download the parks for yourself. Link is in the description and see what there is to see. So first off, first comes to mind is the slot machine here that is spinning and stops on occasion, so you can see if you've won or not. But the signage is really what we're going to focus on here as we go around through everything. So we have this beautiful Stardust sign on top here, and then just all of these different ones. Look at these diagonal signs. So Stardust, Lady Luck, the Genie Buffet. Here's Club Galaxia. I mean, is just the amount of signage detail and sort of retro design and retro theming is just absolutely incredible. Let's spin around to the other side and we can see the space zipper ride here that's on the side. We also have the big Ferris wheel here up in the middle, and kind of not necessarily sure which way is up, so we've got our ride here, neon flash. So you'll see that one pop up and down on occasion. But like I said in the beginning, it's chaotic, and that's both a good thing and a bad thing. The palette helps. The palette is very bright, very in your face, and there's just a lot to see. Another great diagonal sign right here. A little hard to follow in some cases, but you gotta appreciate the detailing, especially some of the track texture detailing, like using the single rail for the sort of lattice work up this column here, which is very cool. And then off the main space station here, I suppose you've got this pretty cool diner on the side. You've got a couple of ships here. There's just a lot of neat things to see through the whole space. And then your tower itself here, we got this great hotel. Spin around to the back side of this, and you've got another ship here. You've got more signage, just more detailing. I love the fact that since we're not on the ground, up is down and down is up and all that sort of thing, so we've got this detailing here at the bottom as well, and kind of throughout you can see a peek here through the glass into the space, which is all cutaway friendly, so we will take a look at that here in just a little bit. And then just our huge hotel complex here as a whole. So their coaster itself, which I'm sure you've seen cruising around here, is actually pretty interesting. So there's more than one. There's the coaster Jackpot and there's the coaster Better Luck Next Time, and it's actually pretty clever how this is accomplished. There's two different coasters sort of layered on top of each other, and one of them doesn't make the top hat up here, and one of them does. So this is the one I believe that's not making the top hat. So he's wrapping around here. Let's see if we can catch him. Here we go. He goes up into this little electrical tower thing, comes down on the other side, and then back into the brakes. So if you're Better Luck Next Time, you get a pretty short ride, although a cool little backward section. But the main one actually makes it up and over this top hat, and then has this pretty wild course of track, which I love. The three parallel along here. Here we go, up and over, just barely. You can kind of see here. I like this track layering as well, and the use of the sort of neon bright blue on top of the pink and everything. It works really well, and this is a good choice of track, I feel like, because it sort of blends into the overall structure and does nicely overall for the whole thing. But nice long coaster and pretty nice integration to it. It doesn't feel forced. It feels like it's part of the thing. But let's take a look at our cutaway view. So if we go all the way up, you can kind of see there are actually cutaways for the hotel rooms themselves, which is a pretty impressive dedication there with as many hotel levels as there are. let's bring it on down, get through the glass here. Then we get into the sort of gaming lobby as a whole. Love these sort of over the top, almost look like roses over all the different gaming areas. And then inside you've got just as cool signage and everything else. So you got the nice Stardust sign. Here's some flames and just different bright colors and just everything again in your face. As you go down, you'll see different rooms and everything. There's a few levels worth to look at. Here you've got this great gaming area over here, and this this buffet with all sorts of tables throughout and everything. So gaming in the middle. Here's this club on this side with the DJ, and pull it down just a little further, and you can just see all the nice use of the curves and everything. This is always a little bit difficult when you build this sort of work, is that you've got almost an interior structure you've kind of got to hide. But in this case, they were able to actually make these work pretty well in that the exterior curvatures and everything actually work to the inside too. You just throw a couple of columns in there and do this kind of wild, bright carpeting. I love this little optical illusion type flooring over here that's going on, and just all the kind of crazy, wild details here as you zoom in. There's just so much to see, and I think that's really what won this one out for me. Initially, I was having a little bit of trouble with it because it was just so bright and so in your face and so difficult to read. But the thing is, as soon as you really kind of parse it down, you can read it a lot better and kind of spend some time looking at all the different things. It actually works really well, and I wouldn't call it messy. I think I'd call it all the chaos is placed very intentionally, which works very well, and I think is definitely to be commended. So you go even further down here, and we'll kind of finish up with this, that there's a couple more levels down here too. You've got more of these different things, and it just drops all the way down for the whole thing. And you've got these cool parking towers at the bottom, which is kind of a nice little touch as well. But works all the way down to the bottom, and even over here on the side, we've got the tables for this little restaurant and everything also done on the side. So no stone unturned here. Lots of detail, probably pretty close to the object limit, I would imagine. It got caught out a little bit. This part did win. It won 37-16, but that 37 number kind of belies the 20% vote reduction that this park was penalized for because they exceeded the amount of usable tiles, which is 3,600 tiles for the round robin competition. The issue was essentially an accident more than anything, it seems, and there are more of these stars that you see in the background taking up some additional space, and unfortunately that put them over the limit, so got them a penalty. Thankfully not disqualified, because it would be a shame to see this park of this quality disqualified. But nonetheless, took a penalty, but still came out as the victor. And I think rightly so, although I did quite like Yerka Daylight Time as well. And I think there's a lot more subtle details in that than something that's sort of as in your face as this type of park. But, each one for different preferences, and I did quite like this one. So that's it for round one, or match one, I suppose. We'll be back with match two here shortly. So definitely come back and see us for that. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye now.